Alligator Baby by Robert Munsch. Illustrated by Michael Marchenko. This is the guy who wrote my favorite book of all time, Love You Forever. But this one is nothing like Love You Forever. Alligator Baby. One night, Kristen's mother woke up and yelled, "A baby! A baby! I'm having a baby!" Kristen's father jumped up, zoomed around the room, got dressed, and grabbed Kristen's mother by the hand. They ran downstairs to the car and drove off really fast. Vroom! Unfortunately, they got lost. They didn't go to the hospital. They went to the... You know where they went. The zoo. Do I have green stuff in my teeth? I do. Sorry, I had a salad for dinner with spinach in it. Unfortunately... Oh, they got lost. They went to the zoo. But it was okay. Kristen's mother had a lovely baby. Then they drove home and knocked on their front door. Blam, 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 blam. Kristen opened the door, and there was her mother holding something all wrapped up. "Kristen," she said, "would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. So Kristen lifted up the bottom of the blanket. She saw a long green tail, and she said, "That's not a people tail." Kristen lifted up the middle of the blanket, saw a green claw, and said, "That's not a people claw." Kristen lifted up the top of the blanket, saw a long green face with lots of teeth, and said, "That's not a people face. That is not my baby brother." "Now, Kristen," said her mother, "don't be jealous." Just then the baby reached up and bit Kristen's mother on the nose. She yelled, "Aha!" Then the baby reached up and bit her father on the nose. He yelled, "Aha!" "That's not a people baby," said Kristen. "That is an alligator baby." "Goodness," said her mother, "we've got the wrong baby." So Kristen put the alligator baby into the fish tank, and her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back in an hour and knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. Kristen opened the door, and her mother said, "Would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. What do you think? Is this really the baby brother? Did you see the alligator? There's the alligator in the fish tank. Kristen lifted up the bottom of the blanket. She saw a fishy tail, and she said, "That's not a people tail." Kristen lifted up the middle of the blanket, saw a flipper, and said, "That's not a people flipper." Kristen lifted up the top of the blanket, saw a face with whiskers, and said, "That's not a people face. That is not my baby brother." "Now, Kristen," said her mother, "don't be jealous." I had to check and make sure I was recording. I've done that before, read this whole story and not been recording. You're silly, Mama. Just then the baby reached up with its flipper and flapped her father's face. Whap, 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 whap. He yelled, "Aha! It's a seal baby! We've got the wrong baby!" So Kristen put the seal baby in the bathtub, and her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back in an hour and knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. They said, "Kristen, would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. She lifted up the bottom of the blanket, and she saw a very hairy leg and said, "That's not a people leg." She lifted up the middle of the blanket, saw a very hairy arm, and said, "That's not a people arm." She lifted up the top of the blanket, saw a very hairy face, and said, That is not a people face. That is not my baby brother. Now, Kristen, said her mother, don't be jealous. But Kristen's not just being jealous, is she? Then the baby reached up with its feet and grabbed her mother's ear and her father's ear, and they both yelled, "Ah! It's a gorilla baby! We've got the wrong baby!" "Let me do it," said Kristen. So her mother and father put the gorilla baby on the chandelier in the living room, and Kristen went off to the zoo on her bicycle. Gorilla baby hanging on their ears. First, Kristen looked in the snake cage. No people babies. Then Kristen looked in the wombat cage. No people babies. Then she stopped and listened. From far away she heard, "Wah, wah, wah, wah." "That's more like it," said Kristen. She followed the sound. It was coming from the gorilla cage. Kristen looked at the mommy gorilla and said, "Give me my baby brother." The gorilla jumped away and wouldn't give the baby back at all. Look at that gorilla baby with a people baby in its arms. That's because it's missing its own baby. Then the people baby reached up and bit the gorilla on the nose, and the gorilla yelled, "Aha!" and handed the baby to Kristen. Kristen jumped on her bicycle and pedaled home. Kristen knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. When her parents opened it, she said, "Would you like to see your new baby?" Kristen's mother lifted up the bottom of the blanket and said, "Look, people legs." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and said, "Look, people hands." She lifted up the top of the blanket and said, "Look, a people face." Kristen's mother picked up the baby and gave it a big hug. Her father took the baby and gave it a big hug. And her mother said, "Kristen, Kristen, you got the baby back. Good for you." "But what are we going to do with all these other babies?" yelled Kristen's father. "There is a seal baby in the bathtub, and an alligator baby in the fish tank, and a gorilla baby hanging from the chandelier. We should take them back to the zoo." But Kristen looked out the window. So there's the babies. Alligator baby, seal baby in the bathtub, gorilla baby. And out the window, she saw something that made her say, "I don't think we'll have to do anything at all. Because look, here comes the mama alligator, the mama seal, and the mama gorilla for their babies." And that's where this story ends. But I bet those critters wrecked their house. What do you think? Well, they all look happy, though. There is one more line here, but I don't know what it means. And everything was okay until Kristen's mother had twins. So I guess she's going to have more babies, and I wonder if she's going to be able to get the right babies home the next time. We'll see. So there you go. Alligator Baby from your crazy mama. Love you. Happy Thanksgiving.